ينشر الهدي إيمانا وموعظة فبالجهالة قد خابت مساعينا غابت مناقبنا واسود حاضرنا غابت مناقبنا واسود حاضرنا وأوشك اليأس أن يغشى أمانينا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. Welcome once again to the Sulaiman Ravat Show. Another week is past and another opportunity for us to sit in our studios here in Sunning Hill, Johannesburg, and interact with the viewers of ITV throughout the country and throughout the continent. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum, as I said. Yes, we're just on the doorstep of Hajj now, the Ayyam-e-Hajj, the days of Hajj. It just feels like a few months ago was the last Hajj broadcast, and in 2 weeks' time, we'll be with you in the evenings once again, inshallah, from a few days before the Hajj starts and for the first few days of the Hajj broadcast as well. Well, tonight I have in studio a man who's a doctor, a medical doctor, but he's not known for being a medical doctor as such. He's more known for his work as a relief worker. Actually, he's known as a leader in the field of relief work, disaster organization, humanitarian work. And he's a trendsetter in many ways. He and his organization and the team that makes up that organization when it comes to this kind of work, both in South Africa as well as internationally. He's not only known in Muslim circles, he's not only known amongst Muslims in our country, but he's known across all the religious divides, racial divides, known very well in government circles as well, and renowned internationally as well. A man has done phenomenal work, alhamdulillah, and who has lived up to the saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Khayrun nas anfa'uhum linnas," that the best of you are those who are the most benefit to others, who give the most benefit to others, who are of the most benefit to others, and in many ways a role model, one could say, because we should endeavor to follow in such footsteps, to be of benefit to others. He has just returned from Gaza together with his team, and that's what we will be focusing on tonight, inshallah, after we get past the first few initial discussions and questions with regards where it all started and how the last 2 decades or so have passed by. The organization I'm referring to is known as Waqful Waqifin, Gift of the Givers, and the individual I'm referring to is none other than Dr. Imtiaz Sulaiman. And Doc, the pleasure is all mine to have you in studio this evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Maulana. Thank you for having me on your show.
Am I right? Some 20 years on now since it all started?
6th August 1992. It's exactly 22 years in last month.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. I'm sure the 22 years have flown by.
It went so fast. We were just reflecting on it a few weeks ago, and we couldn't believe that time has passed so much. In fact, it's frightening because I'm starting to feel old. I'm thinking, when I started off, I was 30 years old. What we could do then, you can feel the levels of energy are not the same as those days. And you come to think that time is passing, life is passing, and you feel like 22 years is such a short time to do the good in the world. And you just pray that Allah gives you a long life, but what the life is, He needs to give you good health to be able to do more, and He accepts your service and uses you in your service.
I mean, I'm sure, like in many such stories, you never envisaged this developing to this level 22 years back.
Never. In fact, when the Sufi Sheikh that I met in Istanbul in 1992, when he told me form an organization, I really didn't take it really seriously, to be honest with you. I said, okay, he means in between my work, I'll do some management. Because remember before that, in 1990, I was involved with the Islamic Medical Association. Mm-hmm. And I went to Nakala in the north in Mozambique. We provided boreholes, we provided malaria medication, we sent stuff to hospital. A few months later, we got involved in the Gulf War in 1991. Also under Islamic Muslim Iraq Relief Committee. Then with Islamic Relief in South Africa, we were involved in the aid to Bangladesh. So one item, I don't really take that seriously, I just did something. And in 92, when I met the Sheikh, he told me, my son, in your soul, I see somebody who likes to help people. You will form an organization, the name will be Gift of the Givers, and he gave me a lot of other things. Mm-hmm. And when he told me that, I said, okay, maybe in between our work, medical work, I'll do some projects now and then. Every time I went there, he said this thing will get bigger. It will get bigger. And I was wondering, what was he talking about? And I don't know why I was wondering what he was talking about, because it finally happened. And this thing has gone out of control. It's gone so huge that we're involved in so many countries, so many different types of projects. Of course, our bread and butter is disaster response and disaster management. But we now have 21 different categories of projects, and all very specialized.
What's life like for you? I would imagine you don't sleep much. It must be very hectic. As much as you get, a great degree of satisfaction from benefiting others, it must be taking a toll on you physically and on your time with family.
He told me specifically. He said 1/3 for the work, 1/3 for the family, and 1/3 for yourself. And I laughed. After so many years, I went there. I said, Sheikh, this is never going to happen. I said, the more I try to do that 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, it doesn't work. All the thirds go away for the work. It just continuously keeps going there. And I said, I don't create the disasters. I don't ask for them to come. I just get involved in them all the time. They started laughing. And yes, I can't get the balance. It's very, very difficult. But, Maulana, in spite of all that, you're always grateful that you're not in that situation. And I see horrible situations. And I've been seeing horrible situations getting worse with each year. Man has gone more mad, it's gone more insane, it's gone more horrendous. Something seriously wrong with mankind. And with each day, the suffering is worse, and men punishing fellow men in such a strange manner, it doesn't make any sense. And the more you see it, the more you think, you know what, in spite I'm away from home, in spite you don't see your family so much, but they're still safe, they're fine, they have something to eat, they're not suffering indignity and humiliation and pain and suffering, so never mind. For that purpose, you'll continue going back, because really, you can't sit there and ignore it. It's impossible. You have to get up. The conscience won't allow you to do that. In fact, you'll be more suffering if you don't do something, sitting back. You'd rather go out and do something.
The profile of Gift of the Givers here in South Africa has just developed in leaps and bounds. And I think one of the benefits that I have picked up on is that we know globally, and to an extent here in South Africa, we Muslims are the victims of Islamophobia, all these negative stereotypes and perceptions about Muslims. And Waqful Waqifin, Gift of the Givers, coming to the forefront with all its good work here in South Africa, goes a long way in countering that. I've heard people use Gift of the Givers as an example, non-Muslim people are saying, when we see this, we see the good work that Muslims are doing for humanity, not only for Muslims themselves.
The Sheikh was very clear. He said exactly the quotation you used in the beginning, Khairun nas mayan for nas. And the Prophet ﷺ came as Rahmatan lil Alameen. He didn't come for Muslims. He came for all of creation. And Islam is a religion of peace, of service, of dedication, of kindness. I mean, it tells you simple things. And everything doesn't cost money. To move a stone or injure this thing from the road is free. But it prevents an old man from slipping or breaking his leg, or a lady breaking her pelvis. As a child is crying, to wipe a tear, to rub the head of an orphan, to give a word of counsel, to teach somebody maths. Those things don't cost any money. It's for free. But it could make such a difference to the person you are helping. So, and when you serve human beings, the Sheikh said clearly, because when I met him for the first time, there were all religions in the place in Turkey. Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, everybody. And it was after the Gulf War. And I said to myself, what are all these people doing in our place? Because, we had negative perceptions of people of other religions and other races. Coming from apartheid South Africa doesn't help, because you feel, you're in a ghetto and everybody else is bad, if not in your kind of thinking. And when I saw them, he said, what's wrong? I said, I'm confused. He said, what do you see? I said, I see people of all kinds of religions here. Americans here who bombed us in Iraq and Afghanistan. I see Russians here who bombed us also in Afghanistan. I see Jews who bombed us in Palestine. I see Hindus who fought with us in India. What's going on? He said, my son, don't paint everybody with the same brush. Mankind is one single nation. That's a Quranic concept. And he said, the Lord or the God of all mankind is one. We just call him by different names. Mankind is one family. He said, any person teaching extremism, terrorism, murder, the taking of life unlawfully, unjustifiably, extremism, is not a man of God. No matter how he's dressed, which book he's holding, or what he's saying, don't follow him. Any person who preaches love, mercy, kindness, compassion, the respect of man, the dignity of man, who teaches goodness and togetherness between fellow beings, is a man of God. Follow him. And he said, you serve Muslim and non-Muslim alike unconditionally. He said, you will form Gift of the Givers, you will help all people of all races, of all religions, of all colors, of all classes, of all political affiliations, and of any geographical location, but you will do it unconditionally. You will not expect anything in return, not even a thank you. In fact, expect to get a kick up your back for doing this work. If you don't get the kick, regard it as a bonus. And finally said, remember my son, this is the most important message I'm giving you, that whatever you do is done through you and not by you. And don't ever forget that for the rest of your life.
SubhanAllah. Here locally, it's become obvious, and you've alluded to it many times, that you enjoy great cooperation from government, from the different departments and organs of government. How did that come about, and how much of a difference has that made?
Without that, it would never work. It would never work. I mean, the government, I started with the old government in 1992, because to get to Bosnia, I needed assistance. In fact, it started off before Gift of the Givers. In 1991, in 19 years, when the Gulf War broke out, and we were saying we were going to send aid to Iraq. And it was in Pietermaritzburg. I was filmed on CNN, that time under the Iraq Support Committee. And all the countries in the world were saying, we're part of the United Nations, we're going to stand together, and everybody was going to attack Iraq. And I attacked Pik Botha and the South African government on TV. And they called me a few days later. They said, look, we understand you're angry, but it's all about United Nations, but we want to help you get aid to Iraq. I said, I don't trust you people. How can I work with you? So I put the phone down. They got somebody else to call me, a Muslim guy. I insulted him, and I put the phone down. And afterwards, I said to myself, you know what? These people have released Mandela. If you want to make progress in the world, you can't do that. If somebody takes out a hand, you can't cut it off. You need to make reconciliation, and you need to start again. If Mandela is released, and he was not angry, as a Muslim, how can I behave like that? So I phoned them back. I said, I'm very sorry. I'm angry, but I'm very sorry. I should have not said that. Islam doesn't allow me to behave like this. So they said, it's fine. A few months later, the Bangladesh cyclone came. I phoned them. I said, let me call them. Let me try them. I said, I need a plane. Now, at that time, I thought a plane can take a lot of stuff. They said, my friend, we're already thinking of you. We're arranging a ship for you. We wanted to call you to help you, give you a ship. And I thought he was joking. That Monday, he met the chief of the Navy. And to cut a long story short, the following Thursday, they called me in. They said, take what you want. I said, I want a ship. I want people to the harbor. I want it to go from Cape Town to Durban. I want warehouses. I want trucks. I want people to load the ship, to take it. I want it to go to Bangladesh. I want it to go at your cost. They said, anything else? I said, no. And that's how the relationship started. But more than that is when I went to meet them for the first time. I said, let me test them. On Monday when they called me, I said, let me ask them for a meeting. If they gave me a meeting, they're serious. If they don't give me a meeting, they're messing me around. And I said, once they give me the meeting, I'm sure they're going to cancel it. So they gave me the meeting Monday, and Wednesday they called me back. They said, that meeting that we're supposed to have tomorrow, there's a problem. Oh, the alarm bells went on. They said, instead of coming 10 o'clock in the morning, can you come 4 o'clock in the afternoon? I said, why? They said, the entire Defense Force key people want to be in that meeting. We want to make sure this thing works. And when I went there, Maulana, it was a fantastic experience. I mean, it was tension. I was the only Indian, right? Everybody else was Christian and white. Head of National Intelligence, head of Defense Force, head of military, head of army, head of navy, foreign relations. Remember, we got this thing about apartheid. We don't trust the Christian people. We don't trust the white people. We don't trust the government. We're suspicious about everything. And within 5 minutes of both of us speaking, we realized there was no difference with us as human beings. We put the labels aside, we put the religion aside, and we put everything else aside. And we started cooperating and started working in a very humane manner for a common purpose. And that changed everything. And that trip to Turkey just cemented all that and said, you know what? You can't put a human being in a box and look at him in a box. You've got to look at him as a human being and treat him as a human being, and don't let all these other external influences come in and say, is he black? Is he Chinese? Is he Pakistani? Is he Taliban? Is he, a Hindu extremist? You can't look at him like that. He's a human being. He bleeds like you. He cries like you. He feels hungry like you. He feels pain like you. He's a human being. Look at it as a human being and kick out all the other labels.
Indeed. Well, in studio with us this evening, we have founder of Gift of the Givers, Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman. In a short while, we'll start talking about his recent trip to Gaza, what the planning entailed and the difficulties they encountered, and what he actually experienced and witnessed in Gaza. A little later on in the program, we will open the lines, but in the interim, the Twitter handle and the email address, as well as the Facebook details, will appear regularly on your screen, so you can communicate with us that way. We're going to go for a break. When we come back, inshallah, we move on to that part of the discussion, the recent trip and the relief, the recent mission to Gaza. And as I said, later on in the program, inshallah, we will open the lines. Also, in the second segment of this program, whilst we're talking about Gaza, some pictures that were taken by Dr. Imtiaz and his team when they were in Gaza recently will appear on your screen during the discussion. So look out for that as well.
فبالجهاد بنى الإسلام قوته